Yeah, ignore that red spot around here. God. Yeah, I still have the flu, everyone. Now I've got a chest infection. And what's annoying is that I, that my, every time I cough, it's, it's like paining me. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it today. Even though I am not in the best of form, but we're gonna have a good time. Yeah. Just give me a sec. Um, no, that's not so word. I was supposed to have a dentist appointment yesterday, but I couldn't because I've got the flu. Um, um, did I, when was the last time I did the live stream? Um, um, 4 days ago. Oh yeah, it was a Saturday. Yeah. I will be watching. I'll be reacting to the first episode of the season 2 on tomorrow. Um, um, right, so as I said, this is, so obviously, um, how do I do a thing about the talent show? On design, no, um, right, there we go. Just pretend this is, like, um, mm, I called it part 5. Right, so, we're going to do so, um, I'll do one tomorrow. I'm gonna be doing a live stream tomorrow, and it's gonna be something different. And no, actually, we're gonna do the talent show tomorrow, because we're gonna meet. So you may have seen the video on YouTube about my reaction to Zoe Alexander's X Factor audition. Now we are going to be reacting to her truth about what she has to say. So obviously, I don't. She used to do live streams, so unfortunately, she hasn't done any live streams in ages. So we're going. So on behalf of her, we're going to hear her out. First off, I need to upload this. Do I have part 4 on YouTube? That's what I got to say. No, we don't. Right. Right, so we're going to delete that one. Right. Um, right, first up, Zoe Alexander. So there was 2 parts in this one. Can This is what's annoying me with ads. Again, I'm not sponsored. not sponsored anything. It's just yeah. There we go. Right, let me just see what's it like. Okay, I'm getting rid of that design thing. Brilliant. Right.
From the world of Vanderpump Rules, The Valley is back for a brand new season.
Turn off the microphone. Had they not...
Hold on, sorry.
I think your superpower is your curiosity.
I like being around people that are louder and talk a lot.
I wouldn't want to.
So yeah, this is Zoe. This is her now. Well, not now, but So we're gonna hear her out. Nobody gets told what this thing is. Their audition at the end of the day. That's what Lisa said. We need one of those. What do we say? Gary Barlow. Honestly, I can't stand Gary Barlow. The final decision about what they're going to sing when they walk on stage is theirs, 100% theirs. Richard Holloway, I can't say it, he's one of the producers. You told me to sing a Pink song, that's what she said.
Hi guys, hope you're all doing well. I've received thousands of messages asking me to tell you what really happened on the X Factor. So I'm going to tell you. There's far too much to put in one video.
Okay, fun fact, I think during her live streams, she has seen my YouTube channel and she has, sorry. Now I am taking this seriously. If you're watching this, I hope this is allowed. I don't know if she still subscribes to me, but if you are, love you. Right, we're gonna hear her out.
So I'm going to do it in two parts. In part one, I'm going to tell you about the lead up to the audition and the audition itself. And I will answer, among many other shocking revelations, the $64,000 question: did they tell me to sing that song? In part two, I'm going to tell you about all the crazy and shocking things that happened after my audition. There were so many people involved. We had Ryan Clark, Kitty Brucknell, Alan Carr, Jonathan Ross, the newspapers, all of the newspapers, but in particular Fiona McIntosh, who worked for the Mirror at the time, Talisa, Richard Holloway, the executive producer.
I'm just gonna change the title of this, because I think it makes sense for me to, so if you don't know who she is, if you watch the previous live stream, which is going to go on, which is on YouTube, Um, she has auditioned for the X Factor as like a normal contestant. She came and let's just say her audition was her, and it didn't went according to plan. Um, and and you can watch this on YouTube. There's two parts of this, and you can watch a full audition on the X Factor, I think. So I can change the thing. So we under shit, I spelled it wrong. Oh shit. Right, there. There we go. We changed it. It's there. I'm sticking to it. Let's continue.
Producer of the X Factor. And that's not even to mention how it impacted my mental health and my life. But it's too much to talk about now. So, in case you're wondering what all the background noise is, and if you hear little squeaks throughout the video, that would be this little rascal. Here you. I thought you'd just like to meet him so you know who's making all the noise.
Honestly, part of me is like, oh, I want to squish him.
Before I start, I just want to thank everyone who subscribed to my channel. Thank you so much. 10,000 subscribers. So much, thank you. Yeah, so let's get into it. So, I'll start at the beginning, I suppose. Applied online. I did apply. A lot of people asked me whether I applied or whether they approached me. I applied. I sent a video in online, like those people do. And then I got a phone call inviting me down to the head office in London of Thames TV.
Which they confirmed by email, and here it is.
Right. Okay. Please arrive at 10 a.m. Wow.
I was really, really chuffed. It was really cool. And sang in it. It was just a boring office, to be honest with you. Nothing special at all. Bit underwhelming. I went into a little room, sang in front of a couple of producers. They got to choose out of everyone who was there who went to sing for the Sony woman. I got chosen to go and sing in front of the Sony woman. Went and sang in front of her. I sang Jessie J, Nobody's Perfect. And then went home.
Simon Cowell's X Factor is not a fair competition. In fact, it's not a competition at all. Thames TV and Sony Records decide who will be successful long before the auditions take place.
Really? No, to be honest, that is a bit mean. That's a bit harsh. Seriously, that is a bit harsh. This is why I don't bother with, like, if I would ever go on a talent show, or that I wouldn't apply because I don't want to set myself to be humiliated in front of everyone. I mean, everyone has their own opinion, like if they're good or bad. I'm entitled to sing it. I don't think there should be a show where you show your singing. If that makes sense. I think if they were going, if you wanted to go on, no, sorry. I feel like if you like you're going out there to be humiliated, and that's what it's about. To see if you're good enough. That is, and then they would judge you and say you don't have a good voice. I think it's best if if the X Factor ever came back, don't apply. But if you want to apply and win all the money, that seems fair. But I wouldn't apply because I don't want to be humiliated. And even though I never planned to audition for it, I've had second thoughts about it, but I decided I'm not going to anyway, just because I don't want to put enough stress on top of that.
A week or so later, I got a phone call from the producer of The X Factor inviting me to the CIA in Cardiff to sing in front of the judges. Brilliant. He said to me I had to email them 5 songs that I wanted to sing on the day. So I sent them this.
Not this. Not that.
I love Monday.com.
What's Monday.com?
You don't know Monday.com? This is Monday.com.
As you can see,
So this is what they sang.
in my choices,
It seems like a good one. I don't know what Teenage Dream is. Am I supposed to know what that is? Teenage Dream. Is that Katy Perry's song? I'm gonna have a look. Dream. Is that Katy Perry's song? Oh, it is. Oh, it is. Never heard of that.
no Pink song.
Right, so she didn't pick a pink song, which is good. Yep.
Within hours, he'd rung me back saying to me that they wanted me to sing a Pink song. I wasn't instantly convinced, but he basically said that if I didn't, I wouldn't be going on the show.
Congratulations on making sure that we will be in touch if you have an audition. Yep. that define you as a singer. Your five song choices are your decision. Right? It doesn't make sense on yeah, if I'm told to sing, if I'm told to sing a song, it's like, oh, you're gonna sing a song, I'm gonna go, no, I'm gonna pick whatever the fuck I want.
But he made it sound pretty good. He bolstered it up and said that I was used to singing Pink songs. I was good at singing Pink songs. They'd love it if I sang a Pink song. It'd go down so well if I sang a Pink song. And so I agreed. And so I sent him a revised song list, and I sent him this.
This is the email.
Right. Right.
Email I sent, now including So What, the song they insisted I sang if I wanted to take part in the show. As soon as the X Factor
I've been like, happy now? I've been like, all in caps, happy now.
producers had successfully coerced me into singing the Pink song, they were eager to confirm my audition before the judges.
Then I got my email saying what time to arrive on the day and whatnot. It was all normal, but seemed normal to me. Pretty good. I was really excited.
What, 6 a.m. She had to get up at 6 a.m. God, it must be exhausting for her.
And then the day came. It was audition day. I got up at 4 a.m. to arrive in Cardiff for 6 a.m. So I was up at 4, getting my hair done. They told me to come really glam, but I just sort of wore what I'd wear on a night out or whatever, and just did my makeup how I thought, which at the time I thought was good, but it really wasn't. Yeah, so we got there at 6, me and my family and friends, and there was no one there. So we wandered around the CIA, which is pretty big, and we couldn't find anyone. So we eventually went to the box office, and there were some security guards in there who let us in, and they let us sit in the box office because there was no one else about. So we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and eventually, probably 8:30 in the morning, 2.5 hours after we got there, the X Factor staff rocked up. They were pretty confused as to why we were there so early.
The fuck? What were they confused about? That's what I want to know. Because they told her to come at 6 a.m. Ridiculous.
And so were we, to be honest. They took us to a room to sit in, and we sat there for a while, and then they eventually took us upstairs to another room where we were met by other acts. We had to sign some things before going into another room, and then we waited. And then we waited. And then we waited. Eventually another few hours passed, and they started setting up their cameras and whatnot, and started. Can I just mention that once we're in the room, we weren't allowed to leave. They didn't give us anything to drink. We weren't
That's bullshit then.
allowed to leave to get a drink. You weren't allowed to leave for any reason. You had to stay in this room. They interviewed a few people. Finally, it was my turn. Once I was in the hot seat to be interviewed, all he wanted to talk about was Pink. Have you seen Pink live? Do you know Pink's real name? Do you think you're like Pink in real life?
Okay, that is rude. Seriously, that is beyond rude. Because, hey, she's been waiting for hours, right? And now she's saying, oh, and that all they kept talking about is Pink. If I was there right now, I would have been like, what is your fucking problem? Seriously, what is his problem? I'd be like, does she want, does, oh my god, she just wants to be herself, and she's told that like a lot of things about Pink, and I'm surprised no one has mentioned about how did you become a singer like that, like normal questions. That's not right.
It was just Pink, 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 Pink. I was in shock. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there trying to answer his questions, and finally he asked a few questions about me.
Okay, that's good. That's a bridge there.
He asked me how I got into singing and things like that. I said to him it was really hard for me to get into singing because I wasn't very confident, and the first time I ever got on a stage I ran straight off because everyone was looking at me because I was terrified. And the thing is, I was bullied in school. I was bullied really badly in school.
Oh, bless her.
And it made my confidence levels drop, and I didn't like speaking to people. I didn't like doing anything. I was a bit of a hermit. I didn't have many friends.
Oh my god, she's basically like me. Oh my god, what I was saying was bullied, but I know I can understand where she's coming from.
And he somehow turned that around to Pink. He said, do you think Pink was bullied in school?
Seriously, they would say that. No, I'm sorry. seriously, if I was going to say to her that year, I'd be like, trust me, ain't worth it.
Well, I was so upset. I think there is some of that footage on the X Factor audition video, and you can see I got tears in my eyes because I was just so upset. I couldn't believe it.
That's awful. That's awful for her.
The X Factor producer during this interview insisted on persistently referencing Pink, no matter what subject he was questioning me about. I began to question whether or not who I actually was had any relevance. The line of relentless comparison to Pink went on for at least an hour. By the end of the interview, I became exasperated and upset, as it seemed the whole thing revolved around Pink, and that anything that was actually about me personally was irrelevant.
No, that is shocking. That is shocking.
I ended the interview tearful and frustrated. Even though the interview lasted for more than an hour, the X Factor producers chose to show a few seconds from the end of the interview showing me tearful and upset, depicting me as an emotional fool.
Yeah, because in the clips, they think that with this whole edit thing, they say, oh, I really want this, please sing that. But no, that is sick.
As soon as that interview ended, I was whisked up to see Caroline Flack straight away. So I went upstairs to another little room. I went in. There was Caroline Flack and a cameraman. And I think she could see that I was visibly upset at this point. And she asked me if I was okay. I said I was okay, but I was really thirsty because we hadn't had a drink in hours. No one was allowed to go out for any reason. So anyway, she gave me her water. I thought that was so nice.
Aww.
Because she had about this much water left in a bottle, and she gave it to me. So anyway, she sent the cameraman off to get some more water because there was no water left, and I was pretty thirsty. I mean, I guess she wanted a drink of water, and she asked me again if I was okay, and I said, yeah, I'm okay, but something feels a bit off. And she said, you can leave if you want. And I looked at her, and she said, well, it's industry. There are other ways to make it in this industry. And if you feel like this is not right, you can leave. I thought, I just kind of laughed it off. Because, you know, I was so excited. It was just a dream come true. It was amazing. I was just exactly where I wanted to be at that moment. But when I thought about it after, I think that she was trying to give me a message. I think she knew that I was there for bad reasons, and she was trying to help me. And I wish I'd listened to her.
You should have. I mean, this is me telling her. I mean, if I was there, I'd be like, you should have. I'm like, but what's done is done. It's in the past.
And so we did our little interview. Nothing much. It wasn't shown on telly. So then I was whisked downstairs, back to my family and friends. They picked out my mum and dad. My friends had to stay in the room of no return. And they took us outside to the audience queue. The people who were going to go and watch the show. They stood us in the audience queue, pretending that we were queuing to go and audition. It was all pretty weird. And then, whilst we were stood there at the front of the audience queue, Dermot O'Leary started walking up and down, talking about auditioning, as if we were in the queue to audition.
Viewers are led to believe that the X Factor contestants queue outside the venue to audition in the hope of impressing the judges. This is simply not true. The 10 or so contestants are pre-selected by Psycho, Thames TV and Sony, and are in fact already backstage in the arena.
So, to cut the long story short, we were then taken back inside to the back of the stage. We had to wait for the audience to get in, and then it was my turn. So we're standing backstage, me and my family and my friends, and then Dermot comes along. He introduces himself to everyone, pretty much ignores me while he talks to family and friends, which was pretty weird because when you see him on TV, he's so friendly to everyone, and
you kind of think that of that, but
he was pretty hostile to everyone. And then he looked me up and down and said, "Oh, I get it." And I didn't really get that at the time, but looking back, it was obviously the pink thing. Anyway, he didn't talk to me again after that. So I went up onto the back of the stage into a little booth where you stood while you waited to be called on. While I was stood there, Ollie, one of the runners or producers or something, came up to me and gave me a little pep talk, and he said, "Make sure you use all of the stage, give the best performance you can give, and if the judges say no, beg them."
fucking hell. No, if I was on the X Factor, I would never beg. I mean, it seems fair.
Do whatever you can to get them to say yes. Cry. Get down on your knees and beg. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, if they told me that, I'd be like, sorry? You're telling me to fucking beg? Yeah, I'm going home.
What is going on here?
The X Factor producers were willfully directing me to break down on stage, showing their ultimate intentions for the conclusion of my audition.
But I kind of stood there. I was really nervous by this point. And so I waited. He went.
And then comes an ad.
Did you know that if you shave, 1/3 of what you remove is skin? Dove Advantage.
And
care.
And then I was called on stage. As I walked onto the stage, I was greeted by four horrible faces. They were so hostile. It was unbelievable. And I mean, a lot of you have probably watched The X Factor on TV, and they seem so nice. They seem like it doesn't matter who you are. They're welcoming and they're friendly, and that was not what I was greeted by. I was greeted by 4 executioners. That put me off from the start. I felt this big because their faces. I looked down at Louis and Talisa and Nicole and Gary, and I just felt so small because they were they were awful. Anyway, Louis was the first person to ask a question, and he asked me, which wasn't shown, that was cut out of the TV. He asked me what I would do with the money. There is no prize money. I replied, there is no prize money. I don't know what you mean. And he moved on to tell me that I was very overconfident. Let me tell you, I was not overconfident. I was so scared. I was petrified. I've never been so nervous in my life. And he is telling me that I am overconfident. Then Gary went on to, which wasn't shown on TV, tell me about how much I was copying Pink and that I looked like Pink. Bearing in mind, I had not really mentioned Pink at this point. And then they asked me what song I was going to sing.
Pretending they didn't already know.
And I said, "So What" by Pink. And I felt stupid saying it. And their faces when I said it, they were a picture. So I sang. And to my surprise, the audience absolutely loved it. Like, I was shocked. I wasn't looking at the judges. I was looking at the audience at the time, and they loved it. They were all having fun because it's a fun song. I mean, whether it's a singing song or not, it is fun, and everyone was having fun.
Yeah.
So when they stopped it, people were pretty shocked because they were there to have time, and we were all having time.
In the broadcast footage, the audience reaction has been completely changed. For example, when Talisa spoke her blatantly scripted lines, "You said you wanted to find your own identity. It's very confusing for me because I felt like I was watching a Pink tribute act." The audience could be heard clapping and cheering her words, as if she was voicing the opinion of the entire audience. In fact, the audience at that moment sat in silence, as they were not primed to follow the storyline.
And then Gary stopped it and told me that he wanted me to sing a different song.
Which seems strange to me, as I was told I had to sing a Pink song.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked the next song. And let me just say that when I got on the stage, the monitors, the on-stage monitors, so that the person on stage can hear, were on. As soon as the So What track started playing, the monitors were off, so I couldn't hear a thing because we're in this massive auditorium and you can't hear. You can't if the sound is not on the monitors, you can't hear, and the monitors went off. And then when they stopped me, the monitors came back on.
The monitors had to be turned back on so I could hear what the judges were saying.
And then when I started singing the next song, the monitors went back off again. And the track that they played was not the track that I had sent them. It was and it was a different track to the track I had sent, and they turned the monitors off, so I couldn't hear a thing. So anyway, I sang that, and then they stopped me again. And the four of them just went on and on about Pink. Bearing in mind, the second song was not a Pink song.
No, it was not.
And all they could talk about, the same as everyone else that day, was Pink. That's all they wanted to talk about. And I didn't have a Pink hairstyle because Pink did not have that hair at the time. In fact, Pink, she adopted that hairstyle months after I had been on the X Factor. Before that, she never had a shaved side of her head. I was just a blonde girl with a funky hairstyle. It was not Pink's hairstyle. She had that after. And I was not dressed like Pink. Pink had never wore H&M leggings and a Levi shirt. Pink had never done that. That was my look. I don't think Pink ever shopped in H&M. I didn't go there with the intention of looking like Pink. I just wore a pair of H&M leggings and a Levi shirt and had short blonde hair. I just, the same as everyone else, I just wore whatever and had my hair however. But it seemed obvious to me that they knew. They were, everyone that day, they were all primed to talk about Pink. Because every time you see someone with short blonde hair, you don't think of Pink. Not everyone who has that hairstyle is Pink, are they? They were clearly primed to, they were in on it. They tried to push the Pink image onto me and bully me into being Pink all day. And it was at that point where I broke down. I suddenly realised that from the moment I got there, at 6 o'clock in the morning, when no one else was there, it was as if they had made that little email just for me, to get me there at 6 a.m, to tire me out, to break me down.
No, that is shocking. No, seriously, that is absolutely shocking. For someone to do that, to her, that is really disgusting. Honestly.
And they continued to do so all day. And it was that moment that I had a breakdown. I started to break down. And I tried telling them that it was them that told me to sing a Pink song, and I was talking to the producers. But the judges pretended that I was talking to them. And Talisa said, "We never told you to sing a Pink song." And I said to her, "No, love, not you, the producers." And that was when I was talking to the audience and trying to explain to them how I'd been manipulated all day. And then I realised that they'd turned the microphone off. And that was when I threw it to the floor. And I threw it like this to the floor. But somehow in the video I threw it like that. And I didn't. I threw it to the floor because I was just disgusted and I wanted to get it out of my hand.
The producers had no choice but to turn off the microphone. Had they not done, I would have revealed everything to the entire audience.
And then after that, I found myself at the back of the stage and I was having a full-on breakdown at this point. I just felt like I felt like I was on fire, and I felt like everyone in the room was laughing at me, and I felt like they were all in on the joke, and I realised that the entire X Factor team were in on it all day, if not from the beginning. And my whole body hurt. I wanted to burst into flames. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me, because I was so embarrassed. I was so broken at that point. And I remember my dad walking onto the stage, and he tried to hug me, but I wouldn't let him. I couldn't. The thought of anyone touching me at that point, it was like my skin was on fire. And anyway, he walked to the front of the stage on his own, and I ran off at the side.
I categorically did not leave the stage and subsequently return hand in hand with my father. Once again, the footage has been completely fabricated. Another example of the X Factor's over-imaginative editing.
So I ran for the stairs. Whilst I was doing that, my dad had walked to the front of the stage, and on the video, you can't hear what he was saying, and I don't know what it looks like, but he said, "You have set her up, and you're not going to get away with this," and then walked off on his own. And I'd just like to add that at no point during my audition did Talisa say, "Stay on the stage, stay on the stage." I mean, she would have had no reason to say that, because I was gone and my dad wasn't about to jump off the stage. And also, Nicole did not stand up and say, "No, baby, no." That did not happen. Again, she would have had no reason to, because I was gone, he wasn't about to jump off the stage. So they were cut in afterwards to produce the footage for them to show in their fictitious storyline. And I got to the side of the stage, and there was this massive stanchion, the type that holds up like lighting fixtures in theatres and auditoriums and things. That, I don't know if you know, they're huge. They are absolutely huge, because they're holding up all those lights and cameras and things. And I saw it, and I shook it. I don't know why I shook it. I just shook it, and I didn't throw it over. I just shook it. I couldn't have possibly thrown it over, because it was attached to lighting fixtures, attached to the other side of the so that was completely falsified.
Another example of the X Factor's creative editing. Once again, manufacturing a scene when the actual events did not suit their storyline.
And then I ran for the stairs, and when I got to the stairs, I fell down them, and I was in such a state that I couldn't get straight back up. I just lay there for a second or two and cried, and the cameraman came up to me and put his camera in my face, and Ollie, the runner producer, was telling him to keep filming, and I looked in his eyes, and I could see he was not happy about it, and I was begging him to stop. I was saying, please stop filming me, please stop filming me. And at that moment, I wanted to die, and I said, "I'm going to kill myself." And I said that over and over, "I'm going to kill myself, please get this camera out of my face, I'm going to kill myself." And that was the point where they put the axe over my mouth.
This scene was cut from the broadcast footage and replaced with even more fabricated footage, which better suited their storyline, as it didn't portray me as aggressive. The real footage would have clearly demonstrated the broken and emotional state into which I had been bullied.
At which point I pushed the camera out my face, and that's when the footage on the X Factor video stops. But that is not where it stopped. I tried to push him out my face, and Ollie kept telling him to carry on filming. And my friend picked me up, and he carried on whilst I was crying, and I didn't know who I was, where I was, what was going on. I just wanted to die at this point because I was just so embarrassed. I was so upset. I was having a breakdown, and he followed me. My friend was holding me to keep me still because I was ready to run. I was in fight or flight mode. I just needed to go. And as my friend let go of me, I ran, and the cameraman followed me to a certain point down the corridor, and then left. They stopped. They decided they didn't need any more footage. I ran out onto the street, and around about the same time, 2 X Factor producers came out and begged us to come back in. And I did not want to go back in. I wasn't having any of it. I just wanted to go. I just needed to get home and crawl up into a little ball and just try and process what had happened. But somehow they convinced me to go back in. When we got back in, another producer came out and said, I don't want any more footage of this woman. I don't need any more footage of this woman. And at that point, I left. I legged it out of the building. I ran across the road. I nearly got run over. Car had to do an emergency stop to not run me over. I fell over again. My family and friends came out after me. We went back to the car, and that was that. We just got in the car, Dad saying, well, that went well, and we drove home in silence. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget that I have much more tea to spill in part 2. So don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.
Alright, let's go with part 2.
All done, Sue?
Yep, and not just with your hair. With the help of Xero accounting software, I've sorted my numbers too. So now I can take my business anywhere.
Where to next?
There is only one.
Zero, but the next!
At Tesco, get a whole leg of lamb or large beef roasting joint better than half price with your Tesco Club card.
Hi everyone, this is part 2 of Zoe Alexander, The X Factor, The Truth. Thank you all so much to everyone who's watched and commented on my first video. I really, really do appreciate it, and your support, it means so much to me. Thank you very much. Thank you as well to everyone who watched my original song that I wrote, Fire. I've had loads of lovely comments on that, and thank you. So for everyone who's been asking, and he has had a lot of fan mail, I'm just going to get Mr. Stewart. Stewie Stewart. Oh no, did I wake up the puppy? Oh no. So here he is, for everyone who's been saying how cute he is, and he's grown a lot since you last saw him. Oh, he's a tired little boy, and he's got Chinese all over his face because he's had his head in the bin. Mr. Stewart. Oh. Oh, he's so sleepy. Come on then. woken the beast now. He's going to make loads of noise. So, part 2. So, when we got home, within about an hour, the editor of the Daily Mail phoned. My dad answered the phone, and my dad said to him he didn't see how they could possibly show that on TV because of the cruelty and showing someone having a full-on breakdown on stage. He just didn't see how that was possible. And the editor said they will do anything that they can. They will edit it in any way they can to show it on TV because it is TV gold. So he came round anyway to interview us, and I told him the whole story of the day from beginning to end. I told the complete truth of what happened. My dad told him the truth of what happened, and in my naivety, I thought the truth mattered at that point, or at least a part of the truth would matter, but I was wrong. And a few things really resonated with me. The editor said that at the end of the day, they work for Simon Cowell and people like Simon Cowell, and without people like Simon Cowell feeding them, they would have nothing to write. And then he said that he was going to write that I'd sent flowers to the producer that I'd pushed. And my dad said, so does that mean that we actually have to send flowers? Because, and he said, no, it doesn't matter what you said. It's only what we say you said. And it doesn't matter what you do. It only matters what we say you do. And then, before he left, he told me a lovely little story about a young girl who'd been on the X Factor, who lived in the South Wales Valleys, and she went on the X Factor. They humiliated her, and she was so broken by what they'd done that she was in a mental hospital. So that made me feel great. So the next morning, I was on the front of every newspaper, and nothing of what I had said, nothing of what my dad had said was there. It was I had been completely demonised in 24 hours by the newspapers who had printed the X Factor's lies, and all I could think about, all that was echoing around in my head, was what that Daily Mail editor had told me. It's not what you did, it's what we say you did. And it's not what you said, it's what we say you said. By that point, I was pretty broken. I didn't stop. I was just shaking, and my whole body was aching. And I don't think I stopped for weeks. So after that, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I just stayed up all night, every night, and just I can't stress to you enough what an emotional wreck I was at this point. So the next day, I had an email from Kitty Brucknell.
Here's the email Kitty Brucknell sent. She said, I have to be careful what I say on email, but I have just seen the Daily Mail.
Oh, there he comes. At Aldi this Easter, there's buns that are perfected and specially selected. Keep going, cheeky, and you'll want to...
I heard what happened yesterday. If you need to talk, call me. Please delete this email after you have read it. Kiss, Kitty.
For those of you who don't know who Kitty Brucknell is, she was a contestant on the X Factor 2011, and she was on the X Factor tour in 2012, so at this point she was still working for Psycho. So I called her, and she said, don't tell anyone that I have talked to you. If anyone finds out, I will be in big trouble. You don't know what it's going to be like when they edit it, and it's going to be bad, and there's going to be nothing you can do about it. I was like, they'll make sure you never work in Britain again. So if I was you, I would go abroad and I would never come back. Make sure that you delete the email, because if anyone finds out about this, then I will be in as big a trouble as you. Don't underestimate them. They will end your career, or even worse. I got off the phone and I was like, oh my God, what on earth is she trying to say? And I was thinking, has she said this off her own bat? Or has she been told to call me and threaten me on behalf of the company? Because she was working for them.
Kitty Brucknell said in a recent Instagram live that she is unwilling to speak openly about her experiences on the show because she is terrified of Simon Cowell. I asked myself, would someone who works for Simon Cowell and openly admits being terrified of him communicate with me in this way, knowing she would be in serious trouble? The only conclusion I can draw from this is that she was ordered by her bosses to convey their threats.
After that conversation, I lived in fear, and I didn't trust anyone or anything for a very, very long time. If anyone was nice to me, I thought that they were taking the mickey out of me. If anyone wanted anything from me, I thought they were just taking the mickey out of me. I just thought everyone was laughing at me all the time, and I didn't trust anything anyone said. Everywhere I went, I just thought everyone was lying to me, and I felt as though I was in a prison. I'd been put in a prison, and I couldn't get out. And then I realised that I needed to escape the prison. That's when I decided that I was going to tell my story, and that I was not going to live the rest of my life in fear. So after the conversation with Kitty, things went pretty quiet after that, and bookers started cancelling my work on the strength of what they'd read in the papers. I didn't leave the house for a long time, and I just kept breaking down, crying, and when I wasn't crying, I was just emotionally numb. Although at this point, I still didn't believe that they would show my audition on TV. I mean, how could they show the systematic bullying leading to a breakdown of a woman on stage? I had convinced myself that they weren't going to show it on TV because it would be too upsetting. And then I got a phone call from the X Factor informing me that they were going to air my audition. And this was like the Saturday, and it was going to air the next Saturday. They were going to air my audition, and did I want them to handle my publicity and for them to represent me? I was honestly so terrified. I just said no and put the phone down. I nearly dropped the phone. I was so shocked. So then it aired on TV. And the weekend that it aired on TV, I was away, and on the Sunday, 3 or 4 reporters came to the hotel that I was staying at to interview us about what had happened. So they interviewed us, and we told them exactly the same story, the truth that we've been telling everyone else. And then later that day, I read what they'd written in the papers on the internet, and it was just full of lies, full of the lies that they broadcast. But I hadn't seen it at this point, so it didn't make much sense to me. But I was feeling pretty crushed. I was again demonized. I was the bad guy. So we went home on the Monday, and we watched the audition, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe it, because you've got to remember, we
myself and my dad, we talked about it with people for 6 weeks. I was a broken record. All I could talk about was that day, what happened on the stage. It was the only thing getting me through. It was the only thing I could think about at the time, because I was so worried that they were going to show it on the TV, and I was just petrified after I'd watched it. So all of a sudden, this girl from a small town in Wales was famous. Not in a good way. I was not famous in a good way at all, and a lot of you probably remember hating me, and I wouldn't blame you, because if I watched that video and thought it was real, then I would hate me too. But I tried to just get on with my life. I thought, I can't just sit and wallow, I'm going to try and get on with it. And I live in quite a small town where people know each other. But everywhere I went, there was just constant reminders of that day. People would stare at me and laugh at me, and I would go in the post office, and the old lady behind the counter that I would normally have a nice chat with didn't want to speak to me anymore and would just give me dirty looks and scowl at me. I'd go to the gym and people would watch the video on their phones in front of me and then whisper and laugh. It was just, everywhere I went, there was no getting away from it. It didn't matter what I did, where I went, everything was just a constant reminder of that day, because I was famous. People said to me, oh, don't worry, it'll blow over, it won't last forever. And it lasted for years and years and years. It didn't just blow over to this day. My dad had an email from Richard Holloway, the executive producer of Thames TV and The X Factor, saying he was going to call. So when he called, I was on stage doing a gig, because I still had a few gigs here and there, and he said to my dad, does she want to come back on the show? And my dad said to him, were you there on the day? And he said, yes, of course I was. And my dad said, well, why would she want to come back on the show? I mean, the thought of that, why would I want to go back to it?
Why would you go back to be humiliated again? That's one to know why.
A show that did that to me. And two, why would they want the devil woman, the woman that did all that, back in their TV studio? Perverse or what? Before the X Factor, I did a little bit of extra work here and there, and to my surprise, after it all, I got a phone call asking if I wanted to do some extra work. So I was over the moon. Things seemed to be getting back to normal, and I went and did extra work on Stella, a TV programme in the UK, and on that day the special guest was Rylan. He was...
Say what?
Switching to Vodafone full fibre broadband is as easy as that, with one touch switch.
A 2012 X Factor UK contestant, and when he walked in the room, he spotted me. He knew who I was, and he came walking up to me and had a chat. He was actually a really, really nice guy. And he said to me, while we were having the chat, that the entire 2012 season of The X Factor, they all took the mickey and laughed at Ollie, the guy I mentioned in the first video, the guy who, when I push the stanchion, he's there and he protects another guy who he was not there. So if any of you want to go and have a look at the audition,
And when I push the sandstone over, there's a blonde guy, and he protects this other guy. If anyone knows who he is, I would really like to know, because he was not there. Because Ryland said to me, we all laughed and laughed and laughed at Ollie because he ran away as I came backstage and nearly fell over the banister. But that doesn't happen in the broadcast footage. But Rylan somehow knew that it happened, and they spent the entire season laughing at it. When that happened, that absolutely terrified me, because I thought, hang on, if Rylan knows that that was real, knows, does everyone know? Is it just a big joke? So I carried on trying to live a normal life as best I could. I carried on doing extra work and trying to do normal things. And one day I drove to the gym, and I like to go into the gym, and there were people there who, they were nice to me and they supported me. It was like my little support network. And anyway, I drove to the gym, and I think I had a panic attack. I think it was a panic attack, and I couldn't get out of the car, and I just sat there and cried, and I cried and I cried, and I couldn't physically get out of the car, and I was so scared. And eventually I sort of tried to calm myself down. I drove home, and I got in the house and there was no one here. My parents were at work, and I went upstairs and I ran an extremely hot bath. I poured myself a large glass of wine and I drank it, and then I tried to take my own life. But I don't really want to go into all that right now, and I think it just goes to show what a detrimental effect that the X Factor can have on people's lives and people's mental health. And if things had been a little bit different, I might not be here talking to you today. But I don't really want to go into it now. It's another video. I'm going to talk about my mental health journey, how I got from there to here. But yeah, so that's
Sorry, it's just nah. She is like talking about suicidal thoughts. That is upsetting, because yeah, like, for her to go through that for so many years, I know it is painful. It's like think of it as a womb and it lasts for years, and no, think of it as I don't know. It like for someone to do that to you for many years, like after, it's just shocking. It's really shocking, and for her to go through that for so many years, and honestly, I don't know what I was doing that year. When I first saw this, when I first saw audition. I was in Ireland. And I was like, oh shit. So shit's gonna hit the fan. Not literally. But I'm glad that she's told this story because it makes you think that what it's like to go through this, because no, I don't think any contestant on the X Factor has really opened about their experience. I don't think it's fair that they should share, even though it's traumatic for them. But I don't get why. I don't get why the producers would out the truth. That, to me, that is shocking. And if I saw her in person, I just want to hug her, because mental health is really, really important, and to go through that for so many years, it's a bit the same. I've had some mental health issues for the past few years for a different reason, and it's been on and off for a few years. But I'm not going to discuss it because it would be upsetting. Let's to cheer ourselves up. Let's react. Let's just do it on a good note. What is her thing? What was? Oh yeah, Zoe Alexander. Let's just watch it.
Looking to cheat on your bed? Find the best time to get away with Flexible Date Search.
Honestly, on my honest opinion, where is it now? There it is. I'll play this out loud. Like buzzers. Right, hold on. Right, let's how do I stop? You're gonna be receiving this. And that's because that is amazing. That is that is really, really moving. I absolutely loved it. Seriously, it's like an angel. Seriously, that is wow. Right, I am going to end it there. And if you're watching this Zoe Alexander, I do feel sorry for you. I really, really do. I just wish that you do listen to Caroline Flack. And I just wish that all this would have happened and everything would have been okay for you. I really, really do, and I hope you're watching this, and I hope that you have a really good future, and whatever you do, never ever judge or bully her, because she's been through a lot, and for a show to break her down that bad, it's disgusting. So please do support her, because I want to return the favour, though, because she subscribed to me, so everyone subscribe to her, because she is amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the talent show. Yep. Yeah. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And if not, Friday. Bye.